All right, welcome to Hoops Tonight here at The Volume. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope all of you guys are having a great end to your week. Well, as promised, today we're going to hit our film session on Game 1 of the 2025 NBA Finals. We have 85 clips to go through today. We're going to get into a ton of detail and a bunch of specific concepts happening on both ends of the floor. A couple of big picture takeaways, and we'll talk about this a lot more in tomorrow's mailbag. I'll go into some more detail, but there were some obvious things that Oklahoma City could improve on. There's a certain identity with the Pacers that is going to be there every single game, no matter what, right? And I think that specifically is one of the rationalizations or explanations for some of the crazy shot making that we see from the Pacers. There's this joke that we've been throwing around about devil magic and voodoo and all this crazy stuff that the Pacers have going for them as they continue to hit these crazy tough shots at the end of games to win. But, you know, there is something to be said about the way that they move the ball around and the way that they keep everyone involved. And so it wasn't just tough shot making. It was a bunch of different guys making tough shots. Like Andrew Nembhard hits that crazy step back. Aaron Nesmith hits that crazy movement three out of the left corner. Miles Turner hits a step back three off of the left wing and a couple of really tough shots on pick and pops, right? We have Tyrese Haliburton in the crazy off the dribble jump shot he hits going to his right. All four of those dudes hit huge shots down the stretch. And there is something to be said about keeping the ball moving, keeping everyone involved, an offense that has a lot of flow and rhythm to it, and how that keeps people in rhythm and makes it so that it's more likely for multiple players to feel good in a big spot late in the game. In this game, on the Thunder side, there were two dudes who looked comfortable shooting anything away from the rim. Now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Lu Dort. And as you guys will see in the film, a lot of opportunities, a lot of missed kick-out reads. I talked last night about how I liked Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and his approach specifically with respect to attacking the game to try to get his rhythm early on. After going back and rewatching a lot of his shots, I thought there were several in there that were pretty questionable, pretty early in the clock, and part of the reason why that rhythm didn't exist for his team. J-Dub came out just settling for really tough 17 to 19 foot pull-up jump shots. Once he started attacking, good stuff happens. You'll see this in the film. We also saw some explanation for why Mark Daigneault went away from his bigs down the stretch, specifically Isaiah Hartenstein leaving shooters wide open. That was a big issue all night long, is just his natural tendency as a big is to sink into the paint, something you can't really do against this Indiana team. And then Chet Holmgren, you're going to see a couple of mistakes on offense, a couple of mistakes in like transition defense. He just looked like he wasn't super mentally engaged in the game. And so that led to the inevitable rebounding problems that the Thunder had down the stretch. But again, a lot of the same stuff with Oklahoma City in terms of processing, making the appropriate kickouts, guys knocking down threes, them getting into their ball and player movement, as opposed to just their two top guys trying to force bad shots every single time down the floor, right? So we're going to get into a bunch of examples today. As I said, we have 85 clips. I'm going to kind of work through it with you as we go along, and you guys will see some of the stuff that I'm talking about. Quickly, before we get started, subscribe to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel so you don't miss any more of our videos. Follow me on Twitter at _JasonLT so you guys don't miss show announcements. Don't forget about a podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts on Hoops Tonight. It's also super helpful if you leave a rating and a review on that front. And then Jackson's doing great work on our social media feeds on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Make sure you guys follow us there to continue to get content throughout the remainder of the season. All right, let's talk some basketball. The NBA Finals are here. This is your last chance to bet on the NBA until next season. And DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is pulling out all the stops to make this a Finals to remember. One team will be crowned champ, and the other will be lost to history. Who you got winning it all? Put your hoops expertise to the test. All season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Who's going to carry their team to the chip? Try placing a bet on your personal MVP to drop 30, 40, or maybe even over 50. Ready to place your own bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, lock in your bets, and finish the season as a winner. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Don't miss your last chance to bet on the NBA this season. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code HOOPS. That's HOOPS. That's code HOOPS for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. So I talked a lot last night on the live, if you guys remember, about the at the level coverages not working for Indiana because them losing contain. So we saw a lot of this classic Shai Chet two-man game to start this game. And the main thing that you're going to see right away is Turner's at the level. But the entire purpose of the at the level is not to take away the pull-up jump shot. Like I guarantee you Carlisle's not worried about Shai like taking a bunch of like rear view contest, pretty tough pull-up threes. What he does have Turner up there for, though, is to stop Shai from turning the corner. If Turner's way back here and Chet lays a screen on Shai can really get ahead of steam on this runway, and then this could be tougher to deal with, right? Turner up at the level, but he loses contain, and Shai gets all the way to the basket. It's a nice finish, but that's an example of that coverage not working because they can't contain the ball at the level. Similarly, another two-man game at the top of the key here, this time with Shai and Chet again. Turner at the level. Chet's open on the pick and pop. Closeout, right? Here's our closeout opportunity, and Turner gets beat on the closeout. So Turner came around and was great down the stretch of this game. The Pacers pivoted to more of a deep drop coverage, which you guys will see. And Turner got super hot as a jump shooter and hit 3 big ones late. And he also did some work beating switches, as you guys will see in the game. So Turner came around, but early in the game, struggling in the base coverage against the Shai Chet pick and roll. Here's an example of Indiana just starting to offer more help in this Shai Chet pick and roll. Once again, same thing. We're up at the level. Notice that Turner is a little hesitant to leave Chet now because he just got beat on a pop, right? So how does Indiana adjust? We have Haliburton and Nesmith basically ignoring their guys to sag into the paint. As Shai drives, there's Nesmith waiting. There's the bump on the shoulder and a block at the basket. Once again, look at the approach from Shai. Shai has done the job. He's brought a third defender into a two-man game. J-Dub is open. Again, you throw the swing pass here. In all likelihood, Siakam closes out. Then Haliburton goes to close out to Dort. Cason Wallace sets a pin-in flare there. You're going to get an open a shot for Dort in the corner. But instead, we're forcing the issue through traffic and getting blocked. You're going to see a lot of that kind of thing from Shai and J-Dub in this game. Another Shai Chet ball screen. The Thunder ran over 50 ball screens last night. Steady dose of this. The Pacers were in like the mid-30s, if I remember correctly. So substantially more pick and roll from the Thunder in this game than what we saw from Indiana. Same sort of thing where we see Turner kind of hesitant to leave Chet. See that? He's just hesitant to leave Chet because he just got burned on the pop a couple possessions ago. Hard help from Siakam in the lane. And then this is poor spacing. We talk a lot about the importance of spacing. As Shai's driving, Dort wants to go through to the dunker spot. And so instead of occupying this wing, they occupy the dunker spot and the corner. That puts Haliburton in a position where he can get underneath Dort and he feels comfortable closing out to Cason. And then Siakam is comfortable splitting the difference between Dort and Shai because Dort doesn't really bring much in the way of vertical spacing ability. And so if Dort is way up here, that creates a much easier, simple 2-on-1 read. If this guy steps over and helps on Shai, it's either swing to the corner or swing to the wing. You get an open three. I thought that was just poor spacing from Oklahoma City. But again, you're going to see a consistent theme here. The Thunder, when they get in the paint, lots of bodies from the Pacers waiting for them right at the basket. I thought the Pacers did. We've talked about this a lot coming into this series. This has been kind of the story of the Pacers postseason run. But overall, with the exception of the turnovers, which they cleaned up in the second half, I thought the Pacers did an excellent job of beating mismatches with size throughout the game. You're going to see a ton of examples in the film session. Here we get a simple double drag, right? So we throw the ball to Haliburton. Here's your double drag, meaning it's basically just a staggered ball screen. Siakam sets the first one. Nesmith sets the second one. We get a switch, right? So now J-Dub is on Haliburton. Dort is on Nesmith. And Cason Wallace is on Siakam. Watch how quickly. So they have the switch. Siakam's on the left wing. They're in kind of like 5-out spacing. Watch how quickly they get the ball to a cleared side with Siakam. Swing. Turner gets the heck out. Siakam dives to the block. Now all these dudes are above the break to force Oklahoma City to make some decisions. They make the decision to stay hugged up to their man. That leaves a clean one-on-one down here. Kaysen tries to basically three-quarter front. That gives the baseline to Siakam, and Siakam just quick attacks and scores. So, like, again, look at how quickly they get from, oh, cool, we got our switch. We got the switch we wanted. Clear the side. Clear the get everybody above the break to clear space. Pitch it down. Siakam quickly goes to work. That's just how surgical the Pacers can be attacking mismatches. Dribble handoff. Get Siakam onto Kaysen again. Right here, we get the DHO. Quick switch. This time they attack it right from the middle of the floor. Siakam goes quick, right shoulder fade. Really nice little jump shot there. I talked last night about how in the traditional coverages that the Pacers were using, they conceded quite a few open shots. Here's another example of that. And again, like, guys, like, in the big picture, the percentages were actually pretty solid for Indiana. They did hold Oklahoma City, including passes, below a point per pick and roll. But I think it's a little bit more complicated than that because there were these like clear, huge mistakes and openings that you'll see. But then there are also like a lot of possessions where there are openings that Shai and J-Dub just shoot some stupid shot instead of moving the ball through. So like there's a version of it where Oklahoma City can be much more efficient against these coverages. And so I do think that over the course of the series, if Oklahoma City does start processing better in burning these coverages more frequently, that Indiana might have to consider doing more switching. But again, watch as the hedge. So this is the hedge, right? Kaysen comes to set the screen for Shai. We have a lingering hedge from Haliburton to try to prevent Shai from turning the corner. And then right as Nembhard gets off of Kaysen to recover, him and Haliburton run into each other. And that ends up clearing all this space for Shai to settle into a wide open pull-up three, and one of the best looks he got all night. I talked last night about how I thought Turner's drop coverage was actually pretty effective against J-Dub. Here's an example of that. Just drop, and force him to take these tough mid-range jump shots. And the thing is J-Dub is just not as good at this as Shai is. And so it's one of those things where, like, J-Dub is letting them off the hook when he takes that type of shot. And you're going to see a steady dose of this. Like, there's 17 seconds on the shot clock. He could have tried to turn the corner and get downhill into Turner's chest. He's setting the tone here. This is the kind of shot J-Dub wanted to take early in this game, a contested 18-footer off. Another deep mid-ranger from J-Dub. Again, plenty of time on the shot clock. You have a power mismatch here. Just like, these are tough shots to like get going with. You know what I mean? Like, this is how he started the game, and it kind of set the tone for the way he played, right? On the other end of the floor, we have our first failed attempt for the Pacers to get the ball to a mismatch. So on this like little cut through action, you're going to see a lot of this sort of thing from Chet. There are several examples tonight or from last night's game that you'll see in this film session. The Thunder will do these kinds of switches where they want to try to keep Chet in low man position so that he's in position to help at the rim. So he just points up and goes, Kaysen, you go get Miles Turner. I'm going to stay down here to get Obi Toppin. That way I can be ready to help at the rim. But as soon as Turner clears out now Chet and Turner are really far away, and we're going to end up with a mismatch. We get the mismatch with Turner on Kaysen Wallace. Kaysen does a great job fronting the post, and they fail to get the ball in. Toppin dribbles himself into some trouble and ends up throwing the ball away. We had a similar turnover to this one earlier in the game. This is actually the second time that the Thunder stripped Turner on a roll. This is an example of just the damage the Thunder can do digging down from the weak side. So we get our screen. We get our roll, pocket pass, watch Dort. Dort comes flying in, boom, strips it. That processing in the middle of the floor without turning the ball over is the key to the series for Indiana. They will get open looks. Turner misses this shot. It's a pick and pop three, but this is open, and it's going to keep being open. So again, the pick and pop, it's just a simple concept, right? As Nembhard turns the corner, Kaysen's chasing, Chet is in drop. That leaves Turner open on the pop, misses it. But that look is something that the Pacers should be able to get consistently throughout the remainder of the series. Here's an example of the Pacers. You know, I talked a lot in the video with Sam Vecini about how I think their best bet to get stops is just to really load up on ball screens and force Oklahoma City to shoot. And you're going to see an example of it here. You get a ball screen. They're up at the level. This is a good at the level coverage from Turner. Notice he doesn't let Shai turn the corner. He's up there before he gets ahead of steam, forces him to get rid of the ball. Chet gets over the top. That forces low man help from Obi Toppin, who tags the roller. Now we have our 2-on-1 on the weak side. Haliburton just stays attached to Dort enough to make him not throw that pass. But notice he's got all that weight on that inside foot so he can push out on the closeout. There's the kick out. Haliburton almost gets a hand on it and then gets a great contest on Case and Wallace there on the weak side. That is the strong base scheme that I really like for Indiana in this series. Just loading up on ball screens and forcing them to shoot on the weak side. Another example of Turner losing contain at the level. Again, this is the same coverage, right? Ball screen at the level, but he gets split. And now he's dead to rights and ends up giving up the layup, right? So again, same coverage. And when we talk about adjustments in the postseason, we always talk like, oh, well, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. Everything can work if it's done right. Last possession, Turner's at the level, he stops the ball, it works. This possession, Turner's at the level, he doesn't stop the ball, it doesn't work, right? Execution is the majority of the battle here. All righty. Shai's going to beat Aaron Nesmith off the dribble here, but watch the way all the Pacers react. So gets beat off the dribble, boom. 3 Pacers meet Shai and help. Dort is wide open on the right wing. Caruso's wide open on the left wing. There's even a decent little vertical spacing opportunity here with Hartenstein. 20 seconds on the shot clock. This is the shot Shai takes. I guess you could call that a pass, some kind of lob pass, something. But again, in traffic, there are reads there. There are reads there, but the reads are being missed and stuff is getting forced in traffic. This next possession is attached to that. On the miss, Shai falls down. As Shai falls down, he's on the ground. We have a 5-on-4 going the other way. Look at how fast the Pacers run. I talked about last night. The Pacers and their commitment to running is responsible for a good portion of their success in this postseason. Look at everybody run. And as a result, they end up getting an open 3 for Haliburton in the 5-on-4. Here's an example of a classic back cut pass from Hartenstein to Shai that ends up leading to an open 3. So back cut, Hartenstein hits him. That forces Siakam to step up. Pass to Dort, TJ McConnell rotates. Caruso's the extra pass. Big time shot. Shai just taking a lot of these, like look at that. Like 19-13, you're getting double teamed, okay? On the double team, you drive in, you face more help. And there's 14 on the shot clock, 0 passes on the possession. You don't have separation. And you're just rising and firing into a really tough contested little 14-footer. Like, I just didn't think that was a very good shot. A lot of that kind of stuff. That's he played himself into a rhythm, and it worked out over the course of the game for him, but the team wasn't in a rhythm. TJ McConnell's going to get a layup here, and you're going to see an example of the roll gravity that Turner brings to the table. On the ball screen, watch Hartenstein, that little step there. Hartenstein has the chance to cut off the drive, but he doesn't want to leave Turner. And so, easy little scoop shot layup for TJ. Hartenstein had a rough night leaving shooters open. You guys are going to see some examples throughout this film session. But he did kick Thomas Bryant's butt on the glass, and he just threw him out of the way there and got another putback. Kind of reminiscent of the Mitchell Robinson problem in the last round. The obvious targets for post mismatches against this team for Indiana are Isaiah Joe and Case and Wallace. I even thought TJ McConnell had some success just attacking with power. You're going to see that here against Isaiah Joe. Quick spin, little right shoulder fadeaway. Those matchups are matchups I really like for Indiana in this series. Here's another example of one of those traditional coverages not working for Indiana. All you have is Thomas Bryant on the ball, Caruso coming off. Neither of these guys are huge offensive threats, so I'd probably just switch this, but they don't. So as Siakam runs through. He ends up getting in Thomas Bryant's way and basically screens Thomas Bryant. And that leaves Isaiah Hartenstein open for the layup. I'm really, really interested to see, because I do think Oklahoma City will process better. Dagnall's going to be seeing all these same stupid shots that Shai and J-Dub took. So, like, I'm almost certain that Oklahoma City is going to come out and move the ball more in game 2. And so I'm just really curious to see how well Indiana's base coverages work. Not so much in like the ball screens with Shai. Like, I want to load up on the ball screens with Shai. It's more just in these like other coverages off the ball. There's a lot of like simple switches that could have taken away some of these easy opportunities that you'll see. Here's the first 3 that Hartenstein concedes. So we get like a little ball screen here on the right, and Siakam screening for TJ or planning to. The Pacers will run a lot of these like early Siakam screens to try to get switches, but there's no reason to even run that action because Toppin's being ignored by Hartenstein. Easy swing pass to TJ McConnell, and Toppin knocks it down. And you'll see several examples of that with Hartenstein throughout the rest of this game. All right. Watch the transition defense off of this steal. So Shai rips Nesmith. Watch the Pacers sprint back. That effort stopped Shai from getting a layup. And you're going to see so many examples of that. Toppin got off to a really rough start in this game, but he really heated up from 3 and got himself back on track and was huge for the Pacers in this game. This is a tough shot against basically a set defender in Hartenstein. But again, Hartenstein sagging a little bit, not too bad. Probably needs to apply a little bit more pressure there. You'll see a couple more examples like that. Another Hartenstein open shot. He's got Ben Shepherd. Okay, Ben Shepherd can shoot the ball. You need to be paying attention. That's just bad defense. Like, look, all it is just a simple relocation. That cut through from Mathurin kind of occupies Isaiah's attention for a second, but Wiggins is not beat. There's no passing angle there. So Hartenstein is just leaving another shooter open. And again, there's several examples of that. And I think if I had to guess why Dagnall went away from his bigs late, it was ultimately that. It was ultimately he didn't trust them to be in the right spots on defense. I showed you. So there's 2 that I've shown you already. There was a third early in the first quarter, and at the very beginning of this Hartenstein shift, where he left Andrew Nembhard wide open in the left quarter. All 3 of those threes went in. So that's 9 points already of Indiana's 28 points that came off of Hartenstein leaving shooters open, and we're 15 minutes into the game. J-Dub finally attacks, gets rewarded for it. Look, just gets Ben Mathurin on his hip and attacks, draws a foul, gets rewarded for it. Finally stops settling. We get a Turner mismatch against J-Dub. He's trying to get them to set up for another post-up. Look how he's pointing. But once the ball gets swung, then he ducks in. As soon as the ball gets swung over to his side on the floor, he ducks in. Ducks in on J-Dub, creates the passing angle, draws a foul. Turner did a really nice job in this game. We got some AJ Mitchell minutes, some rookie NBA Finals minutes in the first half of this game. Misses a couple of shots there and then gets beat by the classic Tyrese Haliburton flyby. Boop. Gets a little bit inattentive on the screen, doesn't appear to see the screen coming, and gets hit. Just, you could tell he notices it at the last second. And then I always talk about that top foot, right? When I'm talking about good screen navigation, look at his left foot. That's the foot that you got to get above Miles Turner's left foot. And he just doesn't because he's caught off guard. So he gets drilled by the screen. That puts him in trail position. Then all Haliburton has to do is basically show him the ball, and then he'll go flying by. I thought Chet had a few of these kind of poor forces early in this game. Here again, a 0 pass possession where he just tries to drive through Turner and just kind of just doesn't have an angle and just forces it up, and bad miss. Lou Dort did a great job in this game of hitting like these kind of short closeout contested threes. Here's an example. Like Siakam is digging down off the strong side corner. Siakam closes out. Dort like kind of like pump fakes, but then he just shoots that like semi-contested short corner three and knocks it down. SGA gets a steal on the post entry here. Great defense. But immediately runs down after his good defense and just jacks up a bad shot again right away. Again, not a terrible shot for SGA. We know he can make that, but it's just one of those things, you know, where he's just struggling to really feel the flow of the game. J-Dub attacks. Something good happens. Doesn't settle. Puts his shoulder into Siakam, draws Haliburton in help, creates an open corner three for his teammate. Another turnover on a post entry. But watch the transition defense. So TJ looks away, swing to Nesmith. Nesmith forced. Caruso plays the passing lane, gets the steal. Watch the Pacers sprint. Look at Obi Toppin, man. And you'll see, like, with the way the floor is set up, you have good floor balance, right? I've got dudes above the break. Basket and ball, right? We have two guys stopping the ball. We're matched up off with TJ McConnell and Obi Toppin. They force at least a semi-contested three in transition off of a turnover. A lot of really good transition defense in this game. Another good example here. Turnover. These two guys, the two guys back. Watch them both. Ball and basket. Ready? Toppin, basket. TJ McConnell, ball. Watch everyone else sprint back and get matched up. And Shai does them all a favor. I'm telling you, like I always get a different feel for a game after I rewatch it. And I was like, oh, like Shai's working his way into rhythm. Like I see he's attacking the finals, and I go back and watch, and I'm like this is just, you're making the game a lot tougher than it needs to be. I talked in the series preview about TJ McConnell and his ability to beat people off the dribble and the value there. He beats Shai. That forces Dort to help off of Toppin. That creates a closeout. Toppin shows the ball, gets Dort to jump. That forces Shai to step up and help. TJ McConnell is wide open right there in the dunker spot. Easy little shot. Nice driving kick sequence started by TJ McConnell's dribble penetration. Here's a great low man possession from Tyrese Haliburton. And I think Tyrese Haliburton's defense has been very underrated in this postseason run. He's done good in ISOs. You'll see some examples. Turner at the level, forces Chet to roll past Turner. Shai makes the pass, and Haliburton ties him up over the top with his length. Really nice defensive play from Haliburton. All right. Pacers are going to beat another pick and roll switch here with Turner. So we have Dort and Chet. Good screen from Turner. Noted that's the beginning there. Dort does such a good job of navigating screens. On this one, he gets hit. That forces the switch. Turner dives. Physical seal from Turner. On the one that he turned over, the one that Haliburton threw that bounce pass, if you watch it, if you go back and watch it, it was just not a very physical seal from Turner. Much more physical seal here. Creates a good, clean passing angle. Gets a bucket. Really nice work from Turner. Here's that recurring theme I was talking about with the Pacers sending lots of help on drives. You're going to see a lot of that in the second half. Shai's going to get downhill. Beats Nembhard. Watch. Boom. 3 Pacers coalesce around him. J-Dub is open. Misses the shot. In order for the Thunder to break the Pacers of this sort of hard help at the rim, they're going to have to hit shots. Notice Turner is in a softer drop, like a deeper drop coverage in the second half of this game. That was the big adjustment from Rick Carlisle as the game progressed. Shai started to get a little bit more free in the mid-range in drop coverage. I thought this was a really bad transition defense sequence from Chet. Chet literally just gets outrun by Siakam here. Look at Siakam. Beautiful bounce pass from Haliburton. And again, Chet, like if you're having a rough offensive night, that's fine. That's part of the game. You're a young player. It's the NBA Finals. But those are the mistakes you can't make if you're also having a rough offensive game. Rare example of Cason Wallace actually beating Haliburton one-on-one. Isaiah Joe and Cason Wallace did a lot of attacking Haliburton in action and in one-on-one, and Haliburton held up pretty well, but this was a rare example of Cason actually having some success, beats him with a little scoop shot. Here's another example of Oklahoma City really just conceding threes by overhelping. Look at Nesmith. Like, there's no advantage here that would dictate J-Dub being this far in the lane. Like, Turner's on the roll, but Dort's with him. This is an overhelp, swing, open three for Nesmith. Good closeout from J-Dub, but again, like this is a team that's been shooting really well on those kickouts all postseason. And this is just an example of what I talked about last night in terms of the Thunder having options in terms of loosening up their coverage a little bit, not being so crazy with their help. Kind of another recurring theme down the stretch of this game, the Pacers doing damage against switches on the offensive glass. So we get a ball screen. Here's our ball screen. Switch. Siakam dives. At this point, you can try to throw it into the post, but you also can just get it up on the rim. There's 5 seconds on the shot clock. Nembhard has to do something quickly. Kick out. A little bit of an overhelp from Chet. Chet actually gets a piece. Beautiful closeout. But look at our mismatch. This is the other side of the switch. And Siakam ends up getting an easy putback to erase the good defensive play from Chet. We talked about in our series preview about Haliburton's hedge and recovers not being very good against slips. Here was an example. So as Haliburton hedges, good, hard, aggressive hedge to stop Shai from turning the corner, but Cason gets behind him, an easy little kick-ahead pass for a layup. Another example of Tyrese Haliburton holding up in ISO. I believe this one was also against Cason Wallace. Hedge. A little bit of nail help. Cason one-on-one against Hallie. Slides, beats him to the spot. Good contest. Really nice work there from Haliburton. Now, this is like a chaotic sequence, but I thought it was another example of an overhelp, and it led to another wide-open three for Obi Toppin. Again, like lost control of the ball. It's nearly turned over. Nembhard saves it, blah, blah, blah. But like, look, as this is happening, Nembhard is not in an advantageous position. And yet Dort is sitting right under the basket and leaving Obi Toppin open. Chet's there to help too, and they end up just conceding an open three to Toppin on the weak side. Obi Toppin, transition cross match on the run ahead, ends up getting... You can actually see them all identify it. Thomas Bryant identifies it and goes, oh, Toppin's got a mismatch. I'm going to clear to the corner. He clears out. Hartenstein's kind of lingering, but then they swing the ball around. And when they swing the ball around, now Hartenstein has to account for Thomas Bryant and his corner three-point shooting. That creates the over-the-top passing angle. Perfect feed from Nembhard. Nice finish. Pacers just absolutely relentless punishing mismatches. I talked a lot in the series or throughout this postseason, like what you need to score against Oklahoma City is the size to beat mismatches, the passing ability to pass through their aggression, and then the shooting ability to knock down shots when they double team. And the Pacers do have those pieces. It's just a question of like, can they take care of the ball, which they did it in the first half, and then they did in the second half. They went from 45 points to 66 points or whatever they had in the second half. This was such a smart play from TJ McConnell, beating a pre-switch with a little swing pass. So again, TJ comes up here. He wants to try to attack Shai, right? So he's going to call Mathurin up into the action. Mathurin goes to go up into the action so that TJ can attack Shai. But Alex Caruso goes, no, dude, I'll go. That way I can switch it. That way you can stay home. But in that brief interchange, as they both ran up with Ben to try to pre-switch, there's a little bit of a miscommunication as Shai doesn't seem to understand what's happening. TJ rifles the swing pass to Siakam in the corner, and he knocks it down. Really nice kind of patient pick-and-roll attack here from J-Dub with Isaiah Hartenstein. Ball screen. J-Dub puts him in jail. Okay, gets him trapped on his backside, and then Hartenstein clears out Thomas Bryant with the Gortat screen, clears him out with that screen so that J-Dub can slither right in behind and get the layup. Ben Matherin's athleticism was really popping in this game. Simple back cut on Alex Caruso draws a foul. He's an apex athlete among athletes, and that is an advantage in a series like this where Oklahoma's athleticism can be overwhelming at times. I thought this was great defense. Wiggins ends up drawing a foul on a back cut here, but like watch Mathurin, watch him navigate the screen, boom, and then beats him to the spot. Really, really sharp defense from Mathurin. Siakam just ends up giving up a back cut here and drawing a foul. Ben Mathurin, if there's something to get really excited about if you're a Pacers fan too, you're already nearly, you're at least in the conversation for being a championship level team if you can compete in this series, right? And Ben Mathurin just still has so much room to improve over the course of the coming years. J-Dub attacking again, gets downhill against Thomas Bryant, gets into his body and finishes. Like, that's what I mean when I say that Oklahoma City has these obvious ways to play better. They obviously can play a lot better just by J-Dub being more of an attacking force and then both guys passing through the aggressive help more efficiently. Baseline out of bounds. We talked a little bit about this last night on playback. Usually on baseline out of bounds plays, the fallback option, if nothing is open, is this guy who's on the strong side in line with the lane line will just seal, and then the guy will throw an over-the-top pass. That's a super common kind of like release valve you'll see on baseline out of bounds plays at every level. Ben Mathurin messes up, though, because his action is dictating that he runs to this corner, specifically so that he can clear J-Dub out, but he doesn't. He drifts out to the wing. So then when the over-the-top pass comes, J-Dub just jumps it. Nice little bit of gamesmanship, too, from Isaiah Hartenstein. You can actually see him pull on Thomas Bryant's jersey right there to stop him from being able to beat J-Dub to the ball. This is a ridiculous and one from Andrew Nembhard driving through Alex Caruso. Very well defended. Runs through the double drag. Caruso gets through both screens. Beats him to the spot, and Nembhard just powers through him for an and one. Ridiculous shot. Watch the way that Indiana guards this ball screen. Ball goes to J-Dub. Two-man game with Hartenstein. Look at Nembhard. He's got Cason Wallace, and he's just defending the action 3-on-2 as a free safety and conceding this swing pass contested 3 to Cason, and he misses it. Again, that's the coverage. You can see it pretty clearly. Indiana is leaving dudes open, and Oklahoma City's going to have to hit those shots. Another example of overhelp from the Thunder here. And again, it's a recurring theme. Both teams are doing it. The difference is the Pacers are like this super reliable catch and shoot team, and the Thunder are a little bit more, it depends on the night. And like, that's the thing is if both teams get away with this or run this sort of coverage and the Pacers shoot the way that they're capable of shooting and the Thunder go hot and cold at times, the Pacers have a very good chance to win this series. Look at this. Ball screen with Toppin. 2 go to the ball. Hartenstein is there in help. So is Wiggins. We're triple teaming the ball and leaving shooters open. And when they pass it out, they're going to knock them down. It's really that simple. Nothing too crazy. All right, time for the Pacers Devil Magic to start heating up a little bit. It's going to start with a Miles Turner semi-contested 3 along the right wing. And again, it's all about the rhythm. Everyone's involved throughout this game. Turner just catches and fires over the top of Hartenstein, knocks it down. We get a timeout, 8-point game. Out of the timeout, really smart play design from Mark Daigneault, taking advantage of the fact that the Pacers are not switching a lot of these off-ball actions. They just simply have Shai back screen for Cason Wallace because Nembhard doesn't want to help, and these guys don't want to switch, so Cason's able to just sneak right behind for the layup. Really nice play design from Daigneault. We get a hedge and recover on this sequence here. A lot of guard screens attacking Haliburton, Toppin, and Siakam down the stretch of this game. We get the hedge and recover. It works. They stop him from turning the corner. Haliburton gets back and doesn't concede the easy kick out, but then he sits in some nail help. Digs down on Shai. Cason's open. Just can't make him pay. Again, like if this is the way they're going to guard, Shai's making the reads now, but at this point in the game, these guys are out of rhythm. If he invested more earlier in the game and trying to get these guys some cleaner looks as he was kind of forcing the issue in traffic, there's a better chance of these guys knocking down shots late in the game, right? Like Turner missed early in the game. 2 wide open above the break threes. That's an investment from Haliburton into his shooting that pays off later in the game. We're going to get a random double team here on a Nesmith drive. Nesmith drives, okay? And look at Dort. So Dort is on the weak side with Obi Toppin. Nesmith is driving, not threatening, okay? They're hounding him around the baseline. Dort brings this random double team. In the random double team, Nesmith just powers through, pivots around really well. Now Toppin's wide open again, kick out, knockdown. So like it paid off in the first half when they forced a bunch of turnovers, but in the second half when they stopped forcing turnovers, as the Pacers kind of settled down, taking care of the basketball, all that overhelp, all that gambling ended up leading to open threes. Dort misses another kick out. On this play, Turner's helping. But in the closeout from Turner, we end up with another transition cross match. Because Turner is the guy who closes out at Dort, he's first up the floor. Because he's first up the floor, Chet's all the way back at the basket. We're going to get a cross match. That cross match leaves J-Dub against Turner. Nesmith misses the corner three, but there's Turner. Rebound, draws the foul. Another example of the Pacers beating size mismatches on the offensive glass. More Pacers voodoo. This time Miles Turner shows the ball, beats Chet with a step back and banks it in. I don't know. In retrospect, judging by the celebration from Turner, I'm going to guess it probably was not an intentional bank. Another example of hedge and recover, this time not working. Toppin throws the hedge. By the time he recovers, he kind of gets in Nembhard's way a little bit. So by the time Nembhard picks up the ball, he's already south of the foul line. Shai's got too much momentum, and he's able to power through and draw a foul. Another beautiful Miles Turner shot in the pocket in a ball screen. Ball screen in the pocket. This is a tough shot, like a leaning, drifting pocket elbow jumper. Really nice work from Miles Turner. Another example of a good drop coverage rep from Miles Turner against J-Dub. Chase, give ground, meet him at the rim, great contest, forces a miss. At least J-Dub didn't settle, but I do like that coverage for Indiana in that particular action. On the other end, Haliburton gets a little semi-transition opportunity to attack Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, beats him off the dribble for the scoop shot. Nice finish. Chet makes I thought a fine attack here, beats Turner, and he's right at the rim. He makes that layup. Oklahoma City's in pretty good shape, and maybe Chet stays in the game, but he misses that one, and Dagnall ends up pivoting off of him here in just a couple possessions. This is a really nice split from Shai against Siakam. Watch how he just immediately attacks and protects the dribble with a kind of a scissor dribble. Right as he gets onto Siakam, immediate scissor dribble to change direction and protect the ball. And again, look at Siakam's right hand. That's why you need to use the scissor dribble instead of the crossover. A low gather is a way to draw a foul there. Again, if you do a low gather, you might catch his arm and draw a foul. But another way to protect the basketball and to not necessarily grift, but to just beat someone off the dribble, but try to not turn the ball over, is protect the ball by going through your legs. He does. Quick changes direction, gets all the way to the rim, and a really nice finish in traffic. Chet defends the switch, I thought, pretty well here. Switch ball screen with Turner. They pass it back to Haliburton. Looks to attack Chet. I thought this was a really nice contest. Forces the miss. And now we have Chet out of the game. So with Chet out of the game, we have 6'5", 6'6", 6'6", 6'4", 6'2", 6'3". Really small lineup out there for Oklahoma City. Watch Siakam. Haliburton misses, but Siakam is just taller than all these dudes. There's not really anything they can do. And he just gets it over the top of them and draws a foul. We are up 9, Oklahoma City, with less than 3 minutes left, and we get to more devil magic. In this case, watch Aaron Nesmith running out to this corner three on the move, rising and firing against a contest. Insane shot from Aaron Nesmith. And again, we're calling it devil magic as a joke. It's part of the rhythm that Indiana invests throughout the game. Another packed paint on a drive. The split, nice work. 3 Pacers meet Shai in the lane. There's our kick out. J-Dub misses. Little extra detail too. Watch Haliburton's closeout. Haliburton's closeout is not going at J-Dub. It's going right in between him and Kaysen. It's a passing lane closeout. And the result is it forces J-Dub to throw a pass fake. He throws a pass fake that breaks his rhythm a little bit and is part of the reason why he leaves that shot just a tiny bit short. Here's the insane Andrew Nembhard step back against Shai. Unbelievable stuff. Just elite one-on-one work. Brings the game back to 3. We get a guard screen attacking Haliburton in the hedge. 2 on the ball. Kaysen slips. Pacers react. Dort is open. These are the good looks that Oklahoma City got down the stretch that they were missing. Unbelievable block from Lou Dort here. Vertical. Takes the contact. Blocks him on the way down. Shai beats everyone to the ball and then somehow finishes this layup through 2 bodies at the rim. Big time sequence. At that point, you're thinking the game's over, right? But nope. Big time stop here from Nembhard and Siakam on Shai. I thought Nembhard just did a nice job of staying body to body with Shai and disrupting his base. Like this little bump right there, that little bump as he fights through, gets Shai a little off balance. Now watch Shai's footwork as he elevates on Siakam. He kind of goes to a right-left takeoff off 2 feet, but he just doesn't get much lift because his footwork is a little off because of the bump from Nembhard, and so Siakam's able to beat him at the rim. Watch him again. I'm going to watch it played in full speed. Watch Shai just get a little bit bumped off balance right before he takes off. That makes it so he doesn't get as much lift, which is why he gets blocked at the rim. An excellent little two-man stop there from those 2 guys. Another Siakam offensive rebound off of the miss. Because Shai misses the layup, he's last Thunder up the floor. These 4 guys are ahead of him. Siakam's trailing. So as a result, in the transition cross match, we have Siakam on Shai, right? Or Shai on Siakam, I should say. He takes him right down. They go like they're going to go to the post. But instead of going to the post, Nembhard goes, well, I just hit this crazy step back. Might as well try another. But look at Siakam. He just dives on Shai, gets inside position, and gets the putback. Huge, huge play in this game. On the other end, Shai overcooks the mid-range jump shot against Nembhard. Actually gets a decent look. He kind of like sheds Nembhard with a body bump here. Gets a really good look. Just misses it off the back rim. Rebound. You guys know the rest. Tyrese Haliburton makes an aggressive driving move against Kaysen Wallace. Watch Kaysen Wallace. He's squared up. But as Haliburton starts to turn the corner, Kaysen has to bail on being squared up to recover. Look at his hips. He's got his hips completely turned towards the baseline. That is right when Tyrese Haliburton decides to pop up off the ground. Game over. 1-0 Indiana heading into game 2. Crazy stuff. As you guys can see pretty clearly from the film, there's some obvious fixable things for Oklahoma City. Shai's got to make more of an effort early in the game to invest in the rhythm of his teammates by making the appropriate kickouts. J-Dub, he's at his best when he's attacking, not settling. And then guys are going to have to hit those open catch-and-shoot jump shots when Indiana overhelps on drives. And then on the other end of the floor, a little bit more selective of when to swarm, because Indiana, when they take care of the basketball, is going to get the ball out against you, and they're going to hit those threes. Again, I am not worried about Indiana having a letdown in game 2. They're going to come out and they're going to play Pacers basketball. But Oklahoma City is certainly capable of coming out with force and playing a lot better. I believe they will, and I believe they'll win game 2. But really, really impressive work from the Indiana Pacers to steal game 1 on the road. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. As always, I sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting us and supporting the show. We'll be back tomorrow with a mailbag based on the NBA Finals as well as some other topics going on around the NBA. And then back for game 2 live on YouTube after the final buzzer on Sunday.